Well, this is our second tape. I hope you enjoyed the first one. This is a little more advanced. Now you're going to learn how to put on ball caps and do aging with latex and how to put beards on. It's also very, very easy. Just watch carefully, copy it, repeat it, and I know you can do it. Okay? Enjoy the second tape. My name is Bob Kelly, and this is my friend Steve Weber. Right now I'm going to put a beard on Steve, just to show you what it looks like, and I'm going to take it off, and then Lee Bagan is going to take over and put a ball cap on him, and we will work together. And Mr. Weber would like to say a few words.
My name is Stephen Weber, actor living in New York. A couple of credits. I was in The Real Thing on Broadway, did an 8.5-month stint on As the World Turns, and I will be seen in the upcoming film Hamburger Hill. That's basically it. Mr. Kelly?
Okay, now we'll get rolling. I'm going to show you how to make these beards after, but right now I'm just going to show you how to apply it, because Stephen isn't going to be with us too long today. We've got to kind of rush him out of here. He has another commitment. Right now I'm using a product called Spirit Gum, and we're just going to sort of tack this on. If you're going to do the whole beard, you can put it on underneath and all around, but I'm just going to be kind to him and sort of tack it on. You're not going crazy with the whole thing, all right? Anyway, show you how fast we can do a quick change. Of course, you wouldn't use a small brush if you were really using a lot of glue. You'd use a larger brush than this. It would go much faster. All right? Now, this is a pre-made beard, which I'm going to show you how to do after. All right? Simply, it's not a lace beard or anything. They're very simple to make and very easy to apply. Quick like a bunny. We're going to get them all together here. Okay? One shot. Now, we're going to stick the mustache on. Now, we'll get into a little more detail on this as we progress. After, all right? There we are. We just slip down a little bit. Now, I know. Never be afraid of handling an actor's face. You do what you have to do and get it done. All right? Now, very quickly, this is just basically tacked on, right? Just to show you what kind of a change you get out of a simple thing like that. Right? You think there's a change there? Yeah? Turn sideways, see? How about that? Okay? Now we'll simply take it off. I'll hop out and Lee can continue what he's doing. Okay? I'll take it off. I'm just going to peel it off because I haven't glued it on too well. Now this beard is made in such a way that you can use it over and over again. Okay? Thank you. Lee's coming right in to put the ball cap on, and then I'll get back to you later.
All right. Now we are going to put a nice bald cap on this young man's head. The first thing is to choose your bald cap. These are plastic bald caps. It comes in 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. This is the large size. They have, as you know, 2 sides. One side is shiny. This side is very shiny and smooth. The other side is grainy. You put the grainy side on top and outside, and the shiny, smooth side under. Now, if your subject has lots of hair, forget it. You can't do it. If he has got long sideburns down to here, forget it. If he has got long hair down to here, forget it unless you can cut it off. If he has too much hair, there's only one way you can do it on top, is just flatten it as much as you can with whatever you can. Any kind of a grease, spray, whatever you can do. Just keep it as flat, as smooth as you can get it. He has some kind of a grease on his hair, which is helpful at this moment. All right. Then you can clean up the area that you are going to glue the bald cap with astringent or alcohol. Just take the body grease off the area, which is usually around the hairline. Okay. And the back of the neck. And make sure that your subject is not allergic to alcohol, acetone, and spirit gum. Otherwise you will have problems. All right, we start with the, can you hold the front of this for me? Good. Let's put it up there. And there it goes. Let it go. Okay. Try to put it as center as possible, covering the sideburns. See. This is a little crooked, but we can fix it. There we are. Just make sure that the sideburns are covered on both sides. You keep this about 1.5 inches below the hairline, and you leave it there. Make sure the back is coming down enough to cover his hair. If not, you can comb the hair under or shave this area. Sometimes we do. If you need, just pull it up a little. Okay, now we are ready to glue this. Before gluing it, you can cut and trim the area here to bring the ears out. For doing that, first mark it. Just don't do it unless you know what you're doing. Mark it like this with a pencil. Make this area round. Don't ever have a sharp cut, because when you pull it, it just keeps running and there is no use for the cap anymore. Do this. Take your scissors. Make sure you are not cutting his ears. Just put your finger behind that and just, as you can see, if you come very close, you see this is the top of the ear and I'm cutting it from here. This section goes behind the ear and hugs the ear behind there, and you will have a better line. Okay, as you can see, I can just bring the ear out, put it there. As you can see, just hug the ear just like that. We do the same thing with the other side. We mark it, and we cut it. Okay. All right, we have got a little extra here. We can cut that later. Now, for gluing it, just simply turn the front up. Your wide brush and the spirit gum. Not too much spirit gum, just enough. Just glue the front of the head from temple to temple. Make sure your spirit gum is very tacky. You can either do it with your fingers or with a brush. Just do this a few times. It becomes very tacky. All right, we're just ready for that. Then just turn this down, right on top of it. Take a clean powder puff, just rub it over. After you glue the front, you turn this up, get rid of the hair in the back there, and use your brush, spirit gum, and okay. Now, bring your head up a little. That's good. Continue your spirit gun from up here, front of the temple, under the sideburn. All right, you can put your finger the other side. There we go. Now, these pieces that you see are hanging here, we are going to dissolve them actually, get them out of the way. The front is very thin, very clear. If it was for the theater, I probably won't do anything about it. But for television and film, I'm going to dissolve this edge altogether, just about 1/4 inch, just match it to the skin so you don't see the edge whatsoever. So the same thing we do on the sides and the back. For that, you need a clean spirit brush. You need a clean brush like this, and you need acetone. What will happen when you put the acetone over this material? It eats that material and dissolve, you see? Cuts it off. As a result, what is left over here, it becomes very close to the skin. And you don't see it at all. Do the same thing with the back. Sometimes the back of these caps are thicker than the front. And what we do usually, we paint a layer there. I mean, once we paint the acetone there, we just let it go, paint the other side. Like that. And by the time I come to this side, it is ready to be taken off by just putting the, you see, it's tearing now. There it goes. Stop on this side. There it goes. All right. Now we come to the front. Well, from here, with the tip of the brush, you just gently open a space that you can hold on to. I just want you to see what I'm doing, which is not easy, but I'll try. See, pick up a piece and just dissolve it as you go. Actually, I can do just what I'm doing. Just put a brush with the acetone at the tip of at the edge of a piece and just dissolve it to the skin. Have a smooth, clean edge. Now, this is all done. Now we are going to prepare it for color. In order to color any plastic material, you cannot just put the color right directly on top of it. It just slides. In order to prepare it, we go over this with a layer of liquid latex. With a layer of liquid latex, you can pour your latex in a cup or whatever, ashtray. All right. You take a sponge, tear it instead of cutting it with scissors. Make it just rounded all around. Then dip it in the latex and just go over the cap. Don't stay in one place, don't play around, just keep on, have a system. Go from one place to another have a direction rather. Just keep going. Go about 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch beyond the edges of the cap. Okay, that's done. Now, whenever you use latex, this hair dry out from away. Wherever part of the body or face you use latex, after it is dried up, which is it becomes transparent really, do not touch it because it sticks to your finger. In order to avoid that, you can always powder it. Powder. And we have some powder here. Okay. Now this is ready to be colored. You cannot use the normal cream foundations on latex. Bob Kelly has these colors, these, called rubber mask grease. And you can, if I can open it, there we are. You select your colors out of this and you apply it over the cap with sponge. All right, in this case, I'm going to mix just these two colors down here. So little by little, he is looking bald. Now the foundation you will choose for his face, it should be almost the same color to match his head. It's not difficult, eh? If he doesn't perspire under that, it will be safe to say that he can have this on his head the entire day of shooting. Now the foundation you will choose for his face, it should be almost the same color to match his head. It's not difficult, eh? Yeah. If he doesn't perspire under that, it will be safe to say that he can have this on his head the entire day of shooting. One of the biggest problems with a bald cap is always the back of the cap. It never stays smooth, it's always wrinkly, it's always a big fat trouble. Okay, nothing up to here is fine, just to give them an idea of what we are doing. Now, if it is shiny, the shine bothers you, you can again powder it down. Okay. Now, over this cap, you can do a lot of things. You can add hair to it, which Bob is going to do later. You can actually make it look as though the head has been shaven instead of being totally bald. When you have a shaven head, it always looks like 5 o'clock shadows around the edges. There you have to pick up your colors, and with the stipple sponge, actually stipple colors on this. Anyway, I think I'll leave that to Bob now to come and do the hair on that. How's that?
Okay, I'm going to continue where Lee Bagan left off. Right now, I'm going to turn him into a lot of hair. I'm going to show you how to use hair, how to work with hair. Well, I'm going to be working with crepe wool, which is something I think you should learn, and we're sure going to show it to you. Now, to start with, I'm just going to show you a little old wig I have here. This is a handmade wig. It's probably worth about $600. Show you what an effect it gives on camera, right? Hey, how that looks? You want to turn a little sideways, Steve? Yeah? Huh? Sort of scroungy, scroogey type look, right? Okay, now we'll take that off. Now here's a cookie little thing I made for a television commercial. You might have seen it. I forget what they call them. I think punk or something like that, right? This is made with latex. A lady's pantyhose on a block and latex, and it's just stuck together. It's very effective, wouldn't you say so? Okay, just to show you. As a matter of fact, if you want to make a Mohawk Indian, you make it basically the same way. It's just one strip pinned down to a block with latex put over it and the hair glued on it, all right? Now, I'm going to show you how to take this ball cap. I'm going to show you how to take this ball cap and put a wig on it with latex. Now, and crepe wool. Now, if you want to use this wig over and over again, when you put the latex on the cap, you should do about 3 or 4 layers. After it has the makeup and everything on it, right? The wig itself, if you put 3 or 4 layers, will peel off and you will have a wig to use over and over again, all right? But you must put at least 4 layers of latex. I won't do that now due to the time element. All right, here we go. Now, I have a little old brush here, and I'm going to start putting the latex right around the back. Can you do that chair swing, right? Here we go. Just watch what I do here. Just going to slap it right on there, all right? Now, it takes a few minutes to get this thing rolling, but we'll knock it out quite fast. We'll keep you hanging around too long. Yeah. Now, the hair the crepe wool I used was the curly crepe wool, which I straightened out. I'll show you how to do that after. And it's really very effective. I make beards out of it and everything from time to time. All right? Now, this is the crepe wool right here. This is the crepe wool right here. All right? Now, what I do, it's all straightened out already. I just sort of have to pull this apart a little bit and get my sections of hair out of it. All right? Just simply take it and pull a chunk out. Okay? Then, feather it on. Now, we'll take another little section here. Huh? And, ooh, pull it out. Now, that sort of embeds itself into the latex. I'm going to a little more latex on there. A little dab of latex. And get over to the hairy side of things again, right? This forefinger, that part of your hand, just grab it, hold it gently, and pull it out. Now, like anything else, this is not the easiest thing in the world to do. It's not the hardest. It is practice. What makeup basically is practice. We can show you everything to do here, which could practically tell you what a professional makeup artist. But if you don't practice it, you're never going to get it, all right? So watch what we do on these tapes. And get a friend, sit him down, and glue him up and stick hair on him. Practice, okay? Main thing, best way to do it. Now, this whole wig that I'm making on him, if this was a handmade wig and a handmade beard, it would cost over $1,000, right? Good wigs now run about $800, $1,400, different prices depending on the length and color of the hair. Now, but when this is finished, it will be a very professional looking job. Now, the same thing I'm doing here, if you want to make someone partially bald on camera, like a bald man, right? You can use this same technique, and you won't have to go running around crazy trying to find out, gee, where do I get a wig to make them bald, and then buy something that looks like hell, okay? Huh? Now that latex actually will all dry underneath there and become clear after a while. You won't even see it, right? It's sort of like embedding this hair right into it. And we do it, right? Yeah. See, if you turn him around a little bit, you see what he's starting to look like back there? Yuck, right? Okay, here we go. Glue it on. Now I'm just going to do the sides, whip up the sides here to show you what it looks like when he's bald on top. Okay, a little bit over here. Whoop. You notice I'm giving him a hairline, right? With the latex. Now I'm going to use the scissor a little bit as I get to the front. Might have to do a little shaping. Right. Huh? All right, onto the latex, right? And we'll keep sort of a natural hairline. A little bit of shape, one more. Huh? Right on. It's a little time consuming. It's a little time consuming, but it's well worth it when you're finished. Yeah, you know how a hairline grows, right? Make sure you get your hair embedded just like a hairline would grow. Don't let the white throw you because that will disappear. With luck. Anyway. Yeah, we'll kind of swing around the other side, right like that, yonder. Okay, now we're going to zip up the other side, and we'll climb up the top. Well, just like a little old bald man we're doing, man. Okay, here we go again. Pull the hair out. Lay it on. Now you don't want to work too heavy because you don't want the beard, you don't want the hair to look unnatural. If you work too heavy, it kind of looks like, kind of hokey. And that's what you want to try to avoid. You know, you want to give the actor a little bit of credibility when he's on stage. So, yeah, looks like a person, you know? Pull it out. Now, of course, you could prepare all of this hair ahead of time, pull all the sections out, and you wouldn't have to go through all the fussing that I'm going through here. Now, what do you think? Is he starting to look bald? Huh? Let's look around here. Huh? How's that? Believable yet? Okay, now we're going to go to the top of his head. Now I'm going to crawl up the top. Okay? Here we go. Start right down the back here. Guy's going to have to add to that, right? And we build our way up. It's just like building a house. But remember what I said. When you're doing this, put about 3 or 4 layers of latex on first to let it dry. Okay? And then you'll be able to use this thing over and over again, many times. Yeah. The only trouble with this kind of a job is you have to be careful with your latex and all, because kind of gets a little mucky sometimes. You get all stuck up, so you got to be a little neat, you know. Kind of a little more neat than I usually am. I just kind of throw everything together. Yeah. Yeah. And we're coming along. We're zipping over the top now. Okay. What's he He's taking that hair stuff now and it's growing. What's that stuff that grows your hair? Minoxidil or something, huh?
Yeah.
Huh? We just spiked his milk with it before I got on camera. And here we go. You notice I'm giving him a hairline, but I'm still keeping him on both sides. Right? This is the important part, of course. We get up the front here, right? Yes. That's got to look good. See what I mean? Get all hairy doing this. I'm going to show you that little trick that I just did after. I'll explain what it's all about, okay? And we got a little bit of hair on top here now. Huh? And the old boy's beginning to shape up, huh? There we go. Yeah. A couple more shots of this and we're going to have all done. Now, of course, that hairline's sort of shaping up, right? Now, of course, we're going to give him a little bit of a sexy look now. I'm going to add a little bit of a white color to that, a lighter shade. Whenever you do this, by the way, if you're going to use a brush, get the cheapest brush you can, because it sure destroys a brush, all right? Now, I'm using a lighter shade. You might call it a blend shade or something like that. Every hairline has a blend, you know? Blend hair. If you have dark hair, you always have a lighter shade in front of it, called a blend hair, which makes it look softer. Move the finger, just like I showed you before, right? Now. Now just give that little time to dry there, huh? Now. Give a little gray at the temples. Here, let me give a little gray in here, huh? That's a good spot for gray, huh? A little bit over here, a little dab over there. There. Then I'm going to put his beard on, which I made in advance. Okay? And right when we finish with Steve here, then we're going to show you how to make your own beards on a beard block. So you can use them over and over again, just like you do in the movies and everything else. Instead of going to buy them from a manufacturer like I am, they have the makeup artists make them. This way they save a few bucks, huh? Which I don't particularly like, but not much you can do about it, you know. Unless you stop teaching everybody or something. Yeah. Okay, we get that little color on that there. Right? Now, I'm going to use spirit gum this time. I've already made up this beard, and I'm going to show you how I made it up after, all right? This beard is made and ready to go. It's all out of crepe wool. Now, but I'm going to put this on with spirit gum. Always glue a bottle of spirit gum down to the table because almost inevitably it spills, and it's really a drag when the spirit gum gets all over everything, you know? Very difficult to work with all that muck all over the place. Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. It almost always spills without fail.
Horrible.
I remember once one of the makeup artists put in a spirit gum in the bottom of a coffee cup in the bottom so it wouldn't spill over, right? And Shelley Winters thought it was tea. Grabbed the whole of it and almost choked to death on it. Woo! What a fuss she made you. Dang. Okay, now that's on there. Now watch here. This is a beard that you can make for very little money, for a couple of dollars. And like I say, we're going to show you how we make it. Right? And this beard can be used over and over again. Yeah, even the mustache is already pre-made. Yeah. Just stick a little bit of this old gop here, the spirit gum right up where the mustache is going to be. And now while that's all drying up there, huh? Now, what to do with the mustache? There it is. Right? This mustache is all crepe wool just glued together. Let's see. Do one of you boys have a little white makeup so I can put on his eyes, on his eyebrows? Lee or Jay? Just got to get his, right? Now, we got that up there. Now watch what I'm going to do here now. Just going to press it down a little bit, right? Why not? Don't be afraid to push. And you grab both sides of the face and squeeze very gently. Now, what do we got here? What do we got here? Huh? Of course, the latex is still going to dry. Now what? Hey?
Got any spare commandments on you?
But what do you say? Now, that didn't take too long. And that whole job, not very expensive, right? There's a fairly interesting hairline there, as you can see from the side. It's not really hokey looking anyway, one way or the other, right? And like Jay said, if you want, you can certainly do, well, let me put a few little bit of eyebrows on. First, got to take a little bit of the makeup off. I usually just take a stick and rub a little white over it, but I guess he wants to get fancy, so we'll just dab a little on here. And a little spirit gum go on there, right? And then I'll just take some of this crepe wool out here. Again, it's basically a glue job. Not too much work involved in it, right? Yeah. Well, whoop-oh. Huh? You could fuss with it more if you wanted to, huh? But I think that gives you a pretty good idea of how it looks. Okay, now don't forget what I told you. Go home and practice it, right? You can buy the crepe wool. It's about $5 a yard, and for $5 it opens it to 3 yards when you straighten it out, and you got all the hair you want. I thank you kindly. We'll get on to the next step very shortly.
Okay, we're back, and we're going to show you a little bit of advanced makeup techniques, aging with latex to make stretched wrinkles on the model's face, aging with latex and tissue paper also to give a more pronounced effect if you're in a large theater, for example. But first, we're going to let our next model introduce himself for us.
Hi, I'm Scott Striegel. I moved to New York City about 3 years ago to study acting at an acting school. And since graduating, I've done a few commercials, a few very off-Broadway shows. And the main thing is I'm still trying, and if you keep trying, you can do it too.
Now that we have Scott properly prepared for the latexing, a few words of caution and a few words of general advice before we get started. First of all, wear a pair of old clothes, a pair of ratty old clothes, and remember, latex does not come out of cloth. That's the reason why. If you spill some of it on yourself, better you should have an old pair of work jeans than something that you would value. We have him draped, and we're not going to approach the face, though, as it's one face. We have to break it down, because what you're doing is you're applying latex rubber, and we're going to be using latex and tissue paper to an area of the face which is stretched, up, down, we'll get into that, but you have to do it section by section, and you stretch and hold each area of the skin while the applied latex is drying. We have a few loaded powder puffs ready on the table behind us. We also have something very important which will help speed this makeup along a little bit, and that is an assistant. You can do this on yourself, don't get me wrong, but it will be a little longer, and you'll just have to use one hand on yourself, one hand holding a puff, one hand holding your dryer. Makes 3 hands, doesn't it? But let's start in. We have to use the neck. Good a place to start as any, and it's a better place to start than most because it's the most uncomfortable position for him to be held in. He's going to have to stretch all the way back as far as he can while the assistant will hold his head, and then the latex will be applied. Skin is held while it'll be dried with a warm air blower. But before we get into that, let's talk about our tissue. We're going to let him sit forward for a moment. We're using a slightly peach-colored tissue, and it's a good idea to show you about how tissue is made. If you try tearing it, you'll notice it tears very easily in one direction, but not in the other. It always seems to want to go toward one direction. That's the direction the grain runs in. That is the direction that our wrinkles will follow. So make sure that that grain, those woven lines, line up to his wrinkles. Also separate the ply of the tissue. This is 2-ply tissue. We only need 1 ply. So we have a little cup of latex ready, and we have some foam plastic sponge all ready to go. Half of his face, we're going to be using just regular latex. Now it's a good idea to stretch it back as far as we can until you feel it hurt. Half of the face and neck will be done with regular latex, applied in 3 layers, each layer dried and no, not powdered, each layer separately dried. When it's all said and done, then we'll powder it, and you'll get to see what he'll look like. Well, he won't look exactly like this when he's 140, because this is not going to give you sagging or jowls or anything like that. What this will do is give you a good wrinkled skin along the lines of what he himself has. Now we're going to use some tissue on the other side. But work quickly. Now, I don't mean sacrifice accuracy. I mean try to get this latex on and your tissue on this half embedded into it before it starts to dry out. Then it won't stick. So, we'll take our tissue and we're going to lay it this way. We might want our wrinkles, in this case, to run the long way. So we press it down into the wet latex. And now we'll take our dryer. Now notice, latex goes on the face or skin white and dries clear. So when that layer is dried, we'll pluck off the excess tissue. We don't pre-cut it, because that would give us sharp edges that would make very obvious overlaps. So tear and pluck off the tissue once you've used your blow dryer to dry the underlying layer of latex. Now, if you think there may be a perspiration problem or someone's going to move around a lot, or just because you may want a little extra adhesion, you might try using spirit gum as an adhesive. That will work also. But here, just for simplicity's sake, we're showing you liquid latex can be used as well. Now time for our second layer. Now keep the skin stretched back, up high, and on the area where we have just liquid latex, we will continue with just liquid latex. And as we get toward the tissue paper, we'll start to use a little bit of a firmer touch. The reason why is you want that latex to really soak into the tissue and saturate it right down to the skin line. So don't move your sponge around a lot. Just use firm pressure. See, if you rub it around, you might dislodge the edges of your tissue. So just apply it this way. Up and down, flat strokes, stippling motion we call it. And make sure that you don't glue him to his collar. Actually, if someone could be almost bare-chested, just draped from about the mid-chest downward, it may even be better. Now, you may see little bits of latex, dried bits of latex, forming on the tissue paper or on the rubber itself. What that means is it's simply time for a fresh piece of sponge. It means that latex has dried and is now stuck to the sponge and will make little granules or nodules on the makeup. You don't want that. So keep a fresh supply of sponges. Now we'll dry off this layer. Now after you get your 3 layers of latex on, or in the case of the other side of him, the latex and tissue, you have to liberally powder off the skin before he's allowed to relax. The reason why, when he brings his head forward and the wrinkles are created, freshly dried latex rubber, if it sticks to itself, it's going to come in contact, it won't be able to get unstuck. It's going to stick permanently. Freshly dried latex will bond right to itself unless you powder it. So now that he's well powdered, we can have him bring his head forward. And you start to see now some of that crepiness, some of those wrinkles that we've created. And now it's time to move on to another part of his face. Again, you can only work on one section at a time. So the next section we'll do is the cheeks. Now we'll put on our 3rd layer. Time for layer number 3. Now, that was our 3rd layer, wasn't it? Well, now take a loaded powder puff, and before he has a chance to release that, powder it. Now, relax the skin and a big broad smile. See, with a little time, also, the wrinkles set into the creases. So they'll just form those nice lines. Now we'll move to the other side, where we'll work with the latex and the tissue. But apply your first layer fairly liberally. And while it's still wet, you lay your tissue paper on. Poke it into the crevices. Make sure it sticks. And now we're going to dry it off before we pluck away the excess. Once that's done, just tear away a little at a time whatever excess there is. All right. Now we'll go and add latex to that side of the face. Okay. Now a little latex. And again, just press it in. See how it overlaps the other area. You shouldn't have any gaps if you can avoid it. Or if there are gaps, make sure they have little latex on them, so that when we color it later on, it will all look the same. Press it in gently. And make sure you saturate that tissue right down to the skin line. Because if you don't, and if it's not glued down enough, it just may be pulled right up when you pull up your sponge, and you don't want that. Now, the latex, while you don't take the latex internally, and you should never do it in any event, if a little gets on the lips, it's no big deal as long as you don't swallow it. You can use latex. You can use latex for aging the lips. But we try not to get it too close to the eyes. We're going to stop right around the eye socket area, and we're going to use something else around the eyes in a little while. All right, now we're going to take a little powder, and again, powder him before we can let him release the skin. Now, don't skimp on the powder. All righty. Now, relax that gently, and you can make a big smile for us. And you see we have a much greater crinkly, papery looking effect. And now we'll add our third layer to the side with just the latex. Now we'll put a little powder on that and see how that looks. A little bit of powder before we let him release the skin. All right, and now we can release the skin and just sort of pucker up as if you're going to give somebody a big kiss. It will help form those wrinkles. Okay, now we're going to go to the next section, the forehead. But we're going to be working in close to the hair, so it's a good idea to stop and give you a few notes and cautions. First of all, don't get latex in the hair. That's definitely going to be a problem. It doesn't come out of hair. You have to make sure that any hair, eyebrow hair, temple hair, ladies, if you have a lot of fine hair growing on the sides of your face, you may have to take a little bit of the clear wax stick that we have and wax down those hairs. This is a Bob Kelly eyebrow cover wax stick. And what we're going to be using it for here is just to rub a little bit of it into the edge of the hairline and a little bit of it through the eyebrows to sort of mat the hairs down into one unit, to one ridge. Someone's got a short hairline like this, a short cropped head of hair. You may find it best to try to keep the hairs running up and away from the skin, away from the latex. We'll have our assistant hold him just above his hairline and keeping the fingers off the forehead so we have an area where we can work, and he will look angry for us and bring his forehead down. So add this carefully. Work around the hairline and keep it away from the area that we call the crow's feet. We're going to also leave a gap, sort of a triangular gap at the center of the forehead, because we're going to try to stretch that in the other direction and see what kind of wrinkling we can achieve. Now the side where you have your tissue paper, work quickly and accurately and lay your tissue on half of the forehead. And make sure it's making contact in there before you turn on the dryer. Now let's remove this excess before we continue. You see, when you just pluck away the excess, you get a nice irregular line. Don't have this extended up high over the hairline, though, because wherever you have the tissue paper, eventually you're going to be putting a layer of liquid latex. So let's avoid the hair. See, we tear it just over the eyebrows. And now some more liquid latex. So we'll keep the skin stretched and have it up as far as we can and close your eyes. See, again, practice will improve your performance, not just on the stage, but in the makeup room too. So if you have problems with this technique, analyze your technique. Keep a notebook. Write down what went right and what went wrong. And when you try your next experiment, don't change a lot of things. Just change one thing. See what happens. This way you can always keep track of what goes wrong as well as what goes right. And you're never in doubt as to what you're changing, because you're only changing one thing. Keep it nice and thin. Now, a little bit of powder, stretch the skin. Like I said, a good liberal application of powder before you release the skin. All right, now we can let the skin go and raise up your eyebrows as high as they'll go and hold them there for a few seconds, and that'll help make the wrinkles set in. Mark that little triangle, and that that actually extends not just here, but down about an inch or so to the nose. What we're going to be doing here is stretching the nose downward while the eyebrows get stretched up and side to side. I'm going to use a cut piece of red rubber sponge because that will allow me to put a nice thin layer of latex into a nice tight little area. Now we're not going to get in too close to the eyes. We're going to be using something different for the rest of the work around the actor's eyes. We'll get into that in a moment. But first, we'll put a couple of layers on and dry them. And a little bit of powder. Now we can release the skin and give me a snarl, and you see what we have there. We at least have something to give us wrinkling at the top of the nose. Now the rest of the face is broken down into smaller areas. There's the upper eyelid area, that's going right up to the brow itself. There's the area below the eye, and there's the crow's feet, as we call them. Simplest thing at this point would be to do the crow's feet. Okay. So here again, a little red rubber sponge. Close your eyes for this. And don't get it all the way into the eye corner. Give it a little space and overlap the other areas here. And while that latex is still wet, we're going to stick on our tissue. And we want the fibers to more or less run in a horizontal direction, so they're going that way, sort of radiating out from the corner of the eye. Okay, and some powder here too. All right, we can release the skin, and if he really tightens up and gives me a clenched face, there we go. Now, we see that that's given us some crow's feet. Now we'll go back to the other side and just do that in straight latex on the other side of his face. So again, stretch the skin, and the eye must be closed, if possible. See, another reason why we have him keep the eye closed is latex, especially the fresher the latex, it has ammonia in it. Now this is a good word of warning to all of you watching and listening out there. If your skin is too sensitive, don't use this. We'll show you another trick in a moment. Now we'll put some powder over that. And we'll release the skin. Now, the last areas so far would be the nose, the upper eye area, the lower eye area, the ears, and the back of his neck. Now, you can't really get much stretch out of an earlobe, but if anybody out there wants to go ahead and try it, go ahead, but save it until the end. Also, if there's some skin in the back of the neck showing, put latex on that too, just so the makeup will all look the same color. But I mentioned before, some people cannot use latex. Certain people will find the ammonia much too burning for them, or just general sensitivities to makeup include sensitivities to liquid latex. Should that happen, there is something else you can use. This is something called duo adhesive. You find it in the pharmacy, usually at the drug counter, and it's a tube. It's a surgical adhesive that's like latex, but it has no ammonia, it's very creamy, and it can be used close to the eyes because it's also used to glue on false eyelashes. Now with duo adhesive, It handles just like liquid latex. Same type of sponges, same method of application and drying. You can use it with tissue, you can use it straight from the tube. Now I'm just going to squirt a little bit. It's a creamy white liquid. And I said it handles like latex, so I put a little bit in this cut-down piece of styrofoam cup. That's really all. And we're going to use this around the eyes. First, we're going to do the area over the eyes. So he'll have to keep his eyes closed, both of them, but we'll have our assistant stretch up from on top of the skin there. Just pull it up at the eyebrow and back a little bit there. That's fine. And this can be applied right down just about to the lash line. So they took the ammonia out of this and other things that might make it a little too strong for close to the eyes. So here now, it's able to be used right up to those lashes and there won't be any problem. So we'll do 3 layers of this and see how it looks for contrast. I'm even using my dryer on a slightly cooler setting because it is close to the eyes. Don't have your dryer set for the hottest it can go because it may burn the subject. Again, little powder. All right, we can release the skin, and we get a little bit of a sagging effect. And now we're going to go over to the other eye and do that other eye with duo and tissue paper. Okay? And now instead of liquid latex, a little duo adhesive. And put a little powder over here before we release the lid. Okay, now we can do that. And when he opens his eyes, you see we have a whole new shape to the eye, and we have real heavy-looking hanging skin. Now let's finish him off. The eyes underneath and the nose would be the last step. Again, we're going to use duo adhesive around the eye instead of liquid latex because of the ammonia. So we'll take another piece of red rubber sponge, and we're going to put some wrinkled skin under the eye. So in this case, we have him just look with his eye up toward the ceiling while the assistant pulls down from the middle of his cheek. Yeah, you don't have to stretch the hell out of him, but just stretch it enough that we can see. And we'll put a little bit of duo as our glue. And then we'll get some tissue paper, and we'll apply that right over the area. Again, we'll try to make our fibers come a little out and down, if we're lucky, and dry this off now. And just tear away your excess till it overlaps. And, you know, be careful, close to the eye. And watch out that you don't stick his eyelashes together also, because, again, this is fairly close. All right. Now we'll take our red rubber sponge and the duo adhesive, and cover the tissue. It's still a little wet. All right. And a little more powder. And now we release the skin. And we have a maze of wrinkles under that eye. And now we'll do the other eye with just regular duo. And we'll put our third layer on. And dry that too. And that should just about complete the eye area. But be careful here. Like I said, don't get thick spots. Put it on nice and evenly. This videotape will be a monument to the art of the lap dissolve. In fact, you may set a record for the most lap dissolves in a single videotape. Now don't keep the eye closed. If you start rolling the eyeball around, it compresses the lid and makes the bottom stick. Just the last layer around the eyeball.
Then God.
Well, then the last thing we do is we just skip a little over the nose and we color it in. That's all.
Perhaps extended.
Well, I get
spot this long in my life. Slightly hurt.
All right, give me a minute. And a little bit of powder over that area before we release it.
To the nose in 2 seconds, huh?
All right, we can release the skin now. A little bit of duo adhesive, or you could use liquid latex if you want, over the nose, a couple of layers, so that when we put our makeup on it, it all looks the same. And the skin all seems to have the same amount of reflectiveness, light reflection. All right. Now after we powder this, we have the whole face latexed, and we're ready to go on to the next step, which is the coloring. Now you cannot use regular makeup on this latex face. Rubber mask grease paint is a specially made formula where the oil is not a mineral oil or a vegetable oil, which would be just sucked in by the rubber and look very dried and dusty looking. They make it with a castor oil base. So rubber mask grease paint should be used on duo adhesive or liquid latex, and use regular cream makeup on bare skin. But if it's rubber or liquid latex, use the special paint. Use the rubber mask grease paint palette, and we're going to show you that right now. Now we're going to color this creation, and we have our rubber mask grease paint palette. And here you have to really decide by visually and by the concept of the play and director's notes. You have to decide what your character is going to look like. So we're putting on a rubber mask grease paint foundation. Now remember, rubber mask grease paint is made with a castor oil base that makes it better for using on latex rubber items, liquid latex, duo surgical adhesive, all those things. So we can use a few regular highlighting and shading colors over the rubber mask grease paint base, but you really have to get the first layer down with rubber mask grease. And it's a thicker, heavier paint. Now, if you remember from the lesson in painted age makeup for the theater, we put a lot of highlights and shadows and all sorts of things on our other actor. But when you have real wrinkles on somebody's face the way we do here, you don't need to create as much artificially with the brush. You can use your brush to accent and enhance rather than to create the entire effect like we did with the painted stage old age makeup. But certain principles do apply. If the skin shows, make it up. Ears, back of the neck, backs of the hands. You can age the hands the same way with latex or latex and tissue paper. Especially when you're working with a young performer. Many times the painted age might not be enough in certain theatrical situations, so then you go for something more extreme. You go for a little latex or a little latex and tissue. If you want, you can take a brush and put your shadows in that way. A few little wrinkles here and there. You don't have to line every little crack and every little crevice because the three-dimensional shape of this tissue paper is helping to do that for you. But a few little accents here and there may help. Around the eye socket, for example. A little shadow around the cheekbone. You can use your fingers to help you along if you want. A few little wrinkles around here. But again, you don't have to do every little minute line. Not necessary to get a good effect. You can turn this into a monster very, very easily. Just don't color it with natural-looking colors. Put greens and grays, or even start tearing parts of it away. And you can get wonderful, non-realistic or gruesome effects. Mummies, ancient characters, zombies, all sorts of diseased flesh. It's all possible. And again, these cream makeups don't dry. You have to dry them when you powder them. So you'll probably do a little bit of exaggeration with your colors. If you want, you'll lose a little bit, perhaps, when you get the powdering on. A couple of highlights here and there. But in general, you don't have to paint the same incredibly fine detail work that you would if you were going to paint the makeup with nothing but highlight and shadow. Now, one thing you may want to try are a few little aging spots. Nobody's skin stays all the same all the years of their lives, so you can try a few little liver spots here and there. And again, observe people on the street, observe from real life, and try to make the makeups look like what you see real people have. A few little blotches, some have red spots, yellow spots. You can pretty much create that with makeup. Just take the time. And put a few little dots here and there. And if you want, like I said before, you can use regular highlighting and shading tones over it also, once you have some rubber mask grease paint on. Give them a little health, a little ruddiness perhaps. And you'll want to give this a liberal application of powder. You can also add colors after the powder, if they don't have to be blended too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to give him a healthy amount of powder and make sure that you press it really down into the cracks and crevices. Now relax the face. And because the rubber mask grease paint is so much heavier than your regular cream stick or Mirage makeups, you will need a little extra powder. Like I said, don't be afraid to use a little Bob Kelly Mirage or Bob Kelly cream stick or liner color, but do the rubber mask grease paint foundation first if it's to look like normal, well, as normal as it can get, as if it's to look like a real person. If it's a monster or a non-realistic character, who knows? The regular makeups may give you just that dry and dusty look that you want. Then take a little black stipple sponge. And I've cut my black stipple sponges into wedges, but they give you a little uneven pattern of color. So I can end up making his face look a little ruddier. I could even give him a 5 o'clock shadow with paint to make him look unshaven. Few little ruddy spots around here perhaps, so it doesn't look like it's all just the one tone. That's very, very light. In fact, it's so light you people watching may not be able to see it like we do in the studio, but it is there. All right, a little bit of Bob Kelly yellow-white hair whitener applied here and there. And that just about finishes up part of the makeup. We've also laid some crepe wool eyebrows on our model. And we're going to give him a mustache. Now, we're not going to lay that out of crepe wool. We're just going to quickly move along here and use a pre-made mustache. Now, you would usually leave the makeup off an area where there has to be hair glued or a hairpiece applied. So we're cheating a little bit, but I think you'll get the general idea. It'll stick much better if you glue your mustache or your crepe wool or your hairpiece to bare skin. And we'll tap that with our fingertip to get it sticky. And this is a mustache on netting, lace netting, and you can also get these from Bob Kelly because he's also the biggest custom hairpiece maker and wig maker for the theater and the performing arts. And lastly, let's give him a hat for character. Looks like something out of a British pub, or a good Irish one. And now we have our old age character with stipple latex on one side, latex and tissue paper applied to the other side. Now, one last word of caution before we let you go and practice on yourselves. You have to know how to remove this properly. Never try to peel it off your skin dry. Take soap, a towel, and warm water and massage it into the latex. And after a while, you'll notice it start to turn a little whitish and start to loosen. When that happens, you can just start to peel large pieces of it away. But always remember, soap and warm water massaged in. Never, ever try and peel it off the skin dry. Now that we've shown you this, the rest is up to you. Get your latex out, get your sponges out, get an old pair of clothes out, and practice.
Well, here I am back again. I told you I'd come back after I put that last beard on Steve, right? That was a crepe wool beard. Now I'm going to show you how they're made. They're not very difficult to make. They take a little bit of practice, and they're very inexpensive because we use crepe wool. Many times when we do a motion picture in Hollywood, and you have a lot of cowboys, a lot of beards in, they won't buy ready-made beards from me, which I prefer they do because they're about $200 each, right? So they hire a makeup artist, and the makeup artist goes in the studio, and he makes beards up on blocks like this, right? They might make up 50 or 100 in one day. So that gives them plenty throughout the movie, and they can take it and transfer it from one act to the other, and they last a long time when you spray them down. Now, I'm going to show you how to make them, okay? To start off with, they're made out of crepe wool. I'm sure many of you are familiar with crepe wool. It comes in this form here, right? And what we do is we cut the strings and kind of pull it right out, loose, and dip it in water and hot water and get it straight, right? And then just hang it up on a line and or put it on a radiator or press it however you want to do it. It comes out perfectly straight. It comes out like this here, all right? And that's what we're going to show you. Now, when you buy 1 yard and you stretch it out, it turns into approximately 3 yards. So you can get quite a few beards out of 1 yard, all right? Now, I'm going to use spirit gum to put this beard in. Now, what I do is put a little bit of spirit gum in the bottom of a coffee container, right? Because it gets a little thick if you leave it set there a while, and it works better, okay? So here we go. Now, I'm going to start with right at the bottom of the beard. Here's where we start, right at the bottom of the beard block. Now, this is a block that we use, and we can float the beard off after with acetone and use it over and over again instead of trying to make it with latex. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of this hair. Watch how I pull it apart. This is the crepe wool, right? Simply it pulls apart very gently, right? No trouble at all. Don't hold your hand tight. Just sort of squish it off, float it right off easy, all right? Now, I'm going to glue this on. The first section is on the bottom, right? But you got to trim your hair. I can't put that hair on now the way that's trimmed, because if I do, it won't stick. The top hair will get the glue and the bottom hair won't. There is one trick when you do this. You must push your thumb forward and break up that line of demarcation, that straight line. Now watch when my thumb goes forward, right? The hair goes, ooh, like that, breaks right up. Can you see what's happening? Breaks it up, right? Thumb forward. So instead of the hair being at that angle, it's at this angle, okay? Now, first section I do on the block is right here, okay? I'm going to put this on now, all right? And here we go, right at the tip, coming forward like a nanny goat, all right? That's the first section. Okay, now I'll take another little piece of hair and go right underneath that. That'll give us two sections, right? But again, the most important trick is wacko, and then push the thumb forward at an angle. Okay, and waggle right underneath. Y'all got that? Like the same nanny goat coming forward. Okay? Now that beard's a little tacky, so it holds on pretty good. All right? Now we're going to get this side here. All right? Watch, right underneath here. And take a little bit of hair. Just like that. Now I'm going to cut this at an angle. Okay, and then forward. Now watch, right at the hairline is come right in under there. At this kind of an angle. Also, going forward. Now that's right under the chin. That's not up on top of it, all right? Now we switch it over to this side here. It's giving me a little trouble, a little stick, all right? All right, now. A little bit right under yonder here, all right? And take a little old bit of hair here again, cut it at an angle. Move your finger. And here we go, right underneath. You want to make sure you don't put it on this way and you look like a helicopter or something, yeah? Okay? Now, we're going to climb right up the front of the face. Quick like a bunny, all right? Next section we take is right here, right in front. Now, here we go. I'm going to just separate this hair because it's a little messed up here a wee bit, all right? And we take that hair now and watch, cut it, the finger, okay? That breaks that up. Now, when you go to put this hair on, you just don't go zock like that. You take it and you bring it down in a direction, all right? So all the hair coordinates and don't pull all over the place. Now watch, right down here, right to the tip of the chin. You all got that? Huh? Now we're going to put another little bitty piece on the top here, right above that. Okay, now here we go again. By the way, if you want to get these head blocks, you can get them at any of your local suppliers. They all have them, or some of them do. And if they happen not to, you can always get them from me. I think the price on them is, I think, about $60. But anyway, here we go. Bango. Move the finger again, okay? Breaks up the line of demarcation. You'll notice when I place this on the beard, there's hardly any line of demarcation on that beard. Huh? See how fine that line is? Huh? Coordinated? Okay, now, we're going to zoom up this side of the face. Now you can do this in many sections if you like, starting from the bottom and building up slowly. Or you can put it on in larger lumps. However, whichever you get used to doing, you know. But you don't have to try to put it on one hair at a time, otherwise you'll never finish the beard. The show will be on and the guy won't have a beard, right? So here we go. Okay, break a little piece off. Here we go. Pull it apart a little bit. Wow. Yeah. What? Cut it. Move the thumb forward. Now watch. One shot. You don't want to make them too heavy, or they look hokey. You don't want to make them too thin, or you all look like Fu Manchu, you know? Oh, here we go. Here we go again, right? Ready? Move your finger forward. Hey, you're climbing up the face fairly rapidly, right? Don't take too long. Now we're going up the side of the face here a little bit, right? Move your finger. You notice that finger? Always out there, always moving. Wow. Like I say, take a little bit of practice, but you can do it. Not impossible. And it will certainly enhance your productions if you can, you know, do proper beards like this. It's going to look quite nice. So far today, we got you learning, kind of taught you how to make wigs, beards, a little bit of everything. One part of this stuff is you got to keep the hair off your brush, because when you work with hair, it kind of winds up in your soup and every place else, you know. So. By the way, I want to tell you guys, you know, if you're ever down in New York City and you all want to come up and visit my shop to see how we make wigs and everything, you're certainly welcome to come up individually or as a group, however you'd like to. All right? We have many, many kids come from all over the country to visit us. You might find it interesting. There's only one Bob Kelly in the phone book that makes wigs, so it's easy enough to find me. Okay? Don't forget. All right, here we go again. Right? Now, going to go up the side again, right? And here, the finger. I'll try to keep out of your way so we can get this. Okay, here we go. Cut it a little bit. Move your finger. And... okay, a little bit more glue on there. Glue's drying at a rapid rate. So you can prepare all this hair ahead of time if you want, without going fussing around like I am here. It might go easier for you. Here we go again. Right? Cut it, move it up. See, get that stuck on there, right? Move the finger. Try to keep out in your way. Okay? Well, you got the general idea of it now. What I'm going to do here, all hair has a blend or a highlight. So I'm just going to highlight the front of this now with a little white color. That will kill any line of demarcation. If you're using dark hair, you highlight with a lighter shade dark hair, right? If you're using the brown hair, you use a lighter brown or a blondish color to highlight with, right? If you're using black, you use a light brown color to blend it with. So always use a lighter shade of hair to do your blending. Okay, now here we go. Watch this. That will kill any line of demarcation that might be laying out there. Notice the finger always goes, right? Then I'm going to put a mustache on this, but if you're going to make a mustache and do all the trimming and cutting, all right, we get that over there. All the trimming and cutting would be far better if you made the mustache up on the forehead, all right? Because otherwise you cut it right into the beard. All right, now, maybe I'll make it up in the forehead and show you how. Because when you trim it, it'll all trim into the beard, all right? We'll make out. It's getting a little stuck up here, right? We'll make out the mustaches up here, all right? You can draw yourself a little outline of a mustache if you like. Okay? Now. Okay, here we go. Wango. Cut it at an angle, right? Move the hair whoop, a little bit. Now here we go. All right, I'll put the glue right up there. You'll see where that camera is picking it up, right? Are you picking that up, Bob? There we go. Huh? Then I put glue on the other side. I'll cut that angle, move it this way, and see that? We'll just stick that on there. Yeah, looks like a crazy pair of eyebrows, right? All right, now, that's pretty much all it takes to get that beard on there, right? Now let's assume we have the beard on and we're ready to roll with it. Huh? I'm going to show you how to cut and trim this a little bit now. When you trim and cut, I can't float this beard off with acetone, so I'm going to show you one I duplicated in my shop, all right? This is very simply, basically the same beard as the one I put on here. It's basically the same color hair. This is the one that you've seen on Steve Weber before. Okay? This is the same one. But I put it back on that block. When you trim a beard, because you can leave this beard as long as you want, or as short, whatever, you can almost cut it down to a 5 o'clock shadow. Right? If I want to cut it short, here's what to do with it. Then cut it, cut up into it, right? Give it a haircut. Let me see how short we can go with. Cut it way down. Okay? I'm just sort of blunting to get rid of the bulk here. Come in here. Whoosha. By the way, I must tell you, when as makeup artists, I don't know if you know that, but many of us, we work sort of like doctors, lawyers, right? We kind of specialize in what we do. Some people specialize in prosthetics, others specialize in beauty makeup, right? And one guy will do ball caps and stuff. You know, myself, I've always been on the hairy end of the business, right? Whenever there's any wigs or big shows with hair, this is what I do mostly, right? Although we do the other, we usually do what we know best and can do fastest, all right? And this is the kind of thing that I'm into. For instance, I don't know, many of you might be too young to know all the old Hallmark shows that used to go on years ago. Well, I used to make all the wigs for it and do the makeup on it, you know? And it was all hair and all wigs, you know, quite a lot of work, but a lot of fun. I can honestly say after being in show business for 39 years, I haven't worked a day in my life. It's been nothing but fun. Meet a lot of fine, nice people, you know, it's really great. Right? See how that's starting to shape up? Oh, now. Hey? Now I could do a lot of fussing around with it, spend a half hour of doing it, and we'll just run a lot of tape time up, and it won't mean a heck of a lot much of anything. But you notice how I cut into it like that, right? If you look in camera, there's some little rough edges, right? You kind of round them all out, and whatever you have to do with them to get rid of them little old rough edges. Now, what I was telling you before, when you do the mustache, you kind of have to keep it away from the beard, otherwise when you cut it, the hair falls down onto the beard, you know, it's not so good. You see how I'm doing that now? Just sort of trimming right up into that mustache. Matter of fact, you can even do the mustache on the back of the block. Now, again, you might say, well, how am I going to use this beard over and over again? I'm going to show you how to do that too, okay? Here. Now, also, now that beard is practically done, right? Now watch what I see how the little flakes fall off from the top. Watch what I do. Don't be afraid to use your hands when you do a beard. Watch what I do here. See how that brings that right in, right? Just cup your hands and bring it in nicely, right? Now take a little bit of trim off, right? Here. A little more here and there. Right? There we are. See, that's all coming into a fairly nice shape, right? Same with the mustache, right? Take it, patchka around with it, use your hands a little bit. Now, I'm going to spray this with a plastic spray, all right? Now, I can't spray it in here because it's studio and there's hot lights and you don't want to blow the place up, right? This is an acrylic spray coating, crystal clear, okay? You can buy it in the hardware stores or paint stores. I use it on pictures, to put a coating on pictures, okay? Now what you would do is just take the top off this and spray this. If you're going to spray, please go out in the backyard, all right? You don't want to choke anyone to death, or you don't want to be near flame or anything, with the whole place will blow up, all right? So just spray the whole thing. Then when you're finished with it, this is what it comes out like. It comes out very, very stiff and hard. Now this beard can be used over and over again. Now again, I can't float this off in the studio because I have to use acetone. But I'm going to show you how you do it, all right? You should actually have some cotton balls. You know what they are, right? Get cotton balls. Again, keep away from any flame, hot water boilers that are going to go on or anything like that, right? Preferably go out in the backyard and do it where it can't harm nothing, or someplace where there's a concrete floor, right? You get your acetone and your cotton balls and you saturate it, right? And what you do, the best way I find to do it is not so much on the holder. Take your acetone and squeeze, 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 squeeze. And the acetone floats down through that beard, right, and loosens the glue. Then you hold it upside down, acetone, squeeze it this way, this way, this way. Now it penetrates all through the back, right? So now when this thing is fairly well saturated with acetone, you have to get yourself a little old knife or something and just lift it off. For instance, now watch. This is tacked on with glue right now. But watch me just pull that mustache off, right? This is how it will come off. Mustache will come off. This one will loosen up, right? The other mustache will come off, right? And then as the acetone penetrates, this whole beard will start. See how that's lifting off? Right? Can you see it? Right? Now watch this lift right off. I have it tacked on with just a little bit of glue right now because, like I said, I can't really use acetone in the studio without taking everybody to the moon, right? Now watch how it just sort of eases off. See how that comes off practically in one piece, right? Now, when you get that off, you spray the inside with the acrylic spray also, right? Now watch. Now watch. Then put your spirit gum on, everything on, right? Let me see how I look. Right? You go right onto the face with spirit gum like you normally would. Then if the edges wear out, the next time you use it, you just put a little bit more glue on and add another little piece of hair over it, right? When you take it off, of course, you have to dissolve the glue a little bit with probably alcohol. You're not supposed to use acetone, so probably just dissolve it with alcohol and it will come off. Okay? Well, I wish you a lot of luck. Hope you make it. Thank you.
Bah humbug! Well, Bob Kelly is no Scrooge. His makeups are quite affordable. And now we'd like to take a minute to show you just a few things that you can get from Bob Kelly Cosmetics. There are kits in cream sticks, kits in our new Mirage makeup. Any makeup product one could possibly want to create almost any theatrical effect can be purchased with Bob Kelly Cosmetics. And they're available at your local distributor of theatrical makeup. But should there be no distributor of theatrical makeup in your area, or if your local outlet does not carry Bob Kelly, give us a call, Bob Kelly Cosmetics in New York City, and we'll be glad to sell you whatever you need. Also, we have 3 books which we can recommend as being excellent texts to learn additional techniques in theatrical makeup. There is 3-Dimensional Makeup by Lee Bagan, which concentrates on prosthetics, molding and casting, and foam rubber formulation. There's also his excellent book on makeup for film, television, and the theater, which is a marvelous all-purpose how-to book on makeup techniques, period makeup, aging, hair, wigs, beards. And there's also Stage Makeup by Richard Corson, now up to its 7th edition. But now that you've seen our first tape, the rest is up to you. So get your makeup kits together, put on some good old work clothes that you don't mind getting dirty, and go to it.
I would now like to introduce my colleagues, Lee Bagan, who's been a makeup artist for many, many years, and Jay Pearlman, who's been a makeup artist for many years. They're going to help me with this particular makeup demonstration. And now, I have to tell you, I've been in this business something like 39 years. It's hard to believe I'm only 46, and my 2 colleagues are now going to show you what the real Bob Kelly looks like. Go ahead, boys. Go slow. Well, what do you think of that? Is there a change? Huh? This is the real me. I certainly hope you enjoyed the tape. The rest is up to you. Take out your makeup kit, start practicing. Anyone can be a makeup artist, but you must practice. See you on the next go-around. Thank you all for watching. Now what are you waiting for? Now what are you waiting for?